Alrighty, so welcome to the stream for those who have joined or haven't joined. We are doing a budget build, alright, it's a 2006 budget build. So let's start moving on this. Let us grab the motherboard. So this is a Gigabyte, and we're jumping straight into this. This is a Gigabyte, it is the, just want to make sure I get this right. It is the GA945GC MX S2, alrighty. So I have already installed the CPU on here, and that's actually a good thought process here. Let us set up and get the actual what do you want to call it, the CPU cooler installed at the same time before we actually put this board in. Alright, so what we're going to do is let's get that going right first. So I've already got sort of pre-thermal pasted this sucker. So let's grab a screwdriver and get going. Right. So I'd rather do this now than later, especially with this mounting mechanism for the CPU cooler specifically. From a CPU perspective, we're actually going with the Celeron. Again, it's a budget build for 2006, so it was quite common back then. And it is the Celeron D, okay? Celeron D, specifically the 352 model. And that was actually released in 2006. Alrighty, so let's get going here. I have sort of got thermal paste on here already, but I'm thinking now maybe we should chuck some more on. Although it looks quite decent, right? What do you guys think there? Quite a bit on there, huh? I think so. What I might do is, yeah, I think we're good actually. I think we're good. I don't think we're going to need more than that. It's evenly distributed, so we should be good. This CPU specifically has like a TDP of around 84 to 86 watts, so quite high, thinking about it, for what it is. Single core, single thread, it has a base clock, if you want to call it that, of 3.2 gigahertz. So quite high for back then. It only has 512K of cache, but hey, that's better than what the Semprons were coming out with back then. I'm just going corner to corner at this point, just to get this going. So I see are all sort of latched in there. Right, yep, now we can just tighten the sucker up. Alrighty. Again, corner to corner. Making sure that when it does lock down, we get an even distribution of that thermal paste. RAM's also pre-installed, so we are running with DDR2, okay, at 533 megahertz, okay, and it is 768 megs. Now the reason for that is, back then we weren't really too concerned about, I mean we were concerned to a degree about dual channel, but it was more around like the more RAM you had the better, right? So yes, we do have dual channel up to the first 512 megs, but back then, as I said, it was more how much RAM do you have versus matching brands and timings and so on. So that's why I did that. Anyway, that's looking good, right? Looking good. We good. Cool. So we've even got mixed brands in here. So we've actually got Samsung, okay, and A-Pacer. One 512 meg stick and one 256 meg stick. So we will have dual channel up to the first 512 megs of RAM. So just want to line this up nicely with the IO shield. Getting there, we're getting there. Cool. Alright, motherboard in, CPU installed, RAM installed. Let us screw this motherboard in. Alright. So definitely a budget build, especially for back then. It is a 775 socket. It's a Intel's AM4 socket, if you want to call it that, because it's probably their longest lasting socket that they ever did. Now they change bloody Intel changes socket every time a new line of CPUs come out. Alright, so with that said though, as I stated, definitely a budget build for 2006. We are going with the Celeron here. Yeah, no Core 2 Duos or anything like that. When the CPU did come out, it originally cost, so this is the Celeron D. Great, we're starting off already with losing a screen. The CPU originally was launched in 2006, as I mentioned. It started at about $70. Alright, 70 US dollars specifically. Around $70-$80, but by the time the end of the year came around, I mean, this thing you could get for, you know, towards the end of 2006, you could pick this thing up for like $60, $50, especially on places like Newegg, who seemed to be the best priced for back then. So yeah, 3.2 gigahertz base clock, only 512K of L2 cache. These things didn't have L3 cache. But yeah, hell of a lot cheaper though than a Core 2 Duo or anything like that. If you're looking at something like a Core 2 Extreme back then, that was well over $1,000, pushing more towards that $1,200 mark. So if you were looking for high-end, crazy. We're just going to get a couple of these in, and then we'll chuck the power supply in. So I haven't gone with a old stock power supply. I never do with retro builds, or what, if you want to classify this as a retro build. And that's purposely because the older power supplies just do not have the type of protection that new power supplies have. But we're getting there. We are getting there. I'm just grabbing motherboard screws here. The fact that we've lost one doesn't help. It isn't the case, but I don't want to try to pick the case up and move it. Just find that specific screw. So we'll just continue as is. I think we're good. I think it was the Celeron D356. I think to this day has like the overclocking record. I mean, I think they overclocked that thing to, was it 8 gigahertz or something ridiculous? So yeah, could I say, interesting CPU, the Celeron Ds from back then. So what I want to do is though, let me just get the power switch connected here. My head might cover the overhead cam while I'm doing this. Power switch. Yeah, I think it is this. Well, we'll see, right? Cable management in these older cases, so bad, bro, so bad. Hey, what's up to the chat? Alrighty, let's get this power supply in. As I say, at this point, this is a new power supply, as I previously mentioned. I do not play around with older power supplies for these type of things. Playing with fire. Alrighty. So let's get this screwed in, and then we'll start connecting a few things. So for those who have just joined both streams, we are doing a budget 2006 build. Right, so we have gone with a Celeron D. Before you go, oh no, Celeron, no. This is a budget build, right? Very budget for 2006. So it is a Celeron D, it's the Celeron D352. We've gone with a mix match of RAM because back then, as a budget builder, it was more, and it was even advertised like that. It was like the more RAM you had, the better. You weren't really matching brands and clocks and frequencies. It was more, well, how much RAM do you have type scenario. It changed obviously as the years went on. As I say, we've actually got two mixed sticks in here. We've got a Samsung stick and an Apacer stick. We've got 512 megs for the Samsung stick and 256 meg on the Apacer stick, and currently how it's configured is the one stick actually runs at 667, but the Apacer actually clocks down to 533, so they're obviously both running at 533 megahertz. So we will have dual channel up to the first 512 megs of RAM. Alright. Okay. Get this CPU power connector connected to the board quick. Should have actually done this prior because it's actually quite a ferret to get to right now. See if we can get there though, I'm sure we can. My head is going to get into the shop for this one, unfortunately. I'm actually thinking I want to pull this fan out, so let's pull the fan out so I can actually get to this. I'll deal with this fan later. Once this is done, we'll chuck in the hard drives. Then we'll do the GPU, which is hella budget. Yeah, so we do have a GPU, no RGPU stuff here. But we will definitely not be using what's on the motherboard from a chipset perspective. Yeah. Alright, yo, that's going to make life a lot easier. We'll worry about cable management towards the end. I'll do that off camera at this point. Really shot myself in the foot. Should have honestly had this connected first. Yeah. These gaps in the way here are such an irrit. But we will get there. There we go. Done. Not too bad, not too bad. Cool. Alrighty. So, hard drives. Okay. From a hard drive perspective, we have gone with two 40 gig drives. Alright. One's an IDE and one's a SATA drive. So, bit of a mixed bag. But again, budget build, huh? Okay, just want to see how far can I push. Yeah, that's fine. I'm actually wondering, should we get this fan on the front connected first? Let us do that. Look at that. Brand new 80mm fan. Not even $1. Hopefully it still works. Just want to untangle this sucker quick. Okay, so we are going to actually install this. And alright, let's go that route there. Not that these old cases had much ventilation in the front, but I still think it's worth putting in, right? Okay, so let's get this in. There's that screwdriver. We go. That will be easier. Put that out the way. Okay. Alright. You know what we need to do? I just want to get these threads going through first. Sometimes these older... I don't know how long this has been sitting for. I mean, I've had this fan for... who knows how long. Let's just get these threads working. I want to make sure I don't split the plastic either. I'm pretty sure... So, oh, you see, I don't know if you heard that. That is a crack of the plastic. It's fine, I think it'll hold though. I think we're good. Shows you how old and brittle the plastic comes when you haven't, when these things don't get used. Anyway, we'll do each corner just to create a bit of a thread going. Yeah, that's what I wanted to avoid, but anyway, we've got no option here. If it cracks, it cracks. Hopefully they all still hold. And yeah. Don't crack. I think we're good though. Yeah, it's not going to crack. Okay, so we had the one corner crack, and again, it's just because these fans are so old, man. Old new stock. Don't crack. Okay, we're good. This is why I'm just pre-threading these before we install it. But when I tighten it up, you don't hear what you heard on the first corner. Well, I'm assuming it came through the mic, where you heard that bit of a click. That was the plastic cracking anyway. And it's not that the screws are too big. As I say, these are standard fan screws. Nothing odd here. Alright, I think we're good. Alright. We'll line this up. See now. Okay, we're still going to pull this in a bit slow. Okay, yeah, because this is the crack corner that we're starting with. Little bit of crack, baby. Right. Yeah, I might step out of frame here for a second. I'm lining this Okay, up here. Your screwdriver's too long, right? Your screwdriver. Not other things, right? Okay, so I'm going to my... So just switch my screwdriver out there. And this will be an intake fan, obviously. How much it will actually intake, who the hell knows? These older cases, yeah. As I say, these older OEM cases from back then, which this is an old open OEM case. Yeah, should I say, ventilation wasn't the first thing they worried about. This case is should I say, it's not like got grills in the front or anything like that. There's literally a gap in the front of the case at the bottom, right, that it sort of takes in through. Okay, one more left. Cool, so we've got 3 screws that didn't crack the plastic and one that did, so we should be good. We shouldn't hear any vibrating or anything like that. Talking about not having enough space to work on, huh? Work within. Yeah. Should be quick now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and we're locked in. All right, let's get these drives in. And while we're at it, we might as well connect this other fan. Yeah, we might as well. Let's do it. A little bit dusty, huh? The fan itself is fine because I did clean it. I didn't realize the grill was a bit nasty. All right, grab these screws. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go with the proper screwdriver here because I have room to work with. So this is obviously going to pull. This fan's obviously pulling out. And surprisingly, even though this case is super old, what is surprising is it does support up to 120mm fans. Anyway, I'm just going with 80mm fans just to sort of fit the retro aspect of it and the era. Which, yeah, most cases only really catered for back then was 80mm fans and 92. And even getting 92 fans, I don't know, from where I'm at, or should I say from where I'm from, you don't find 92mm fans easily. Okay, I think we're good. I grab the last one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's get these drives in. So as I was mentioning, we do have an IDE drive and a SATA drive. I actually want to get these in. Yeah, like that. It's actually, we'll set the IDE up as the top drive or higher drive. And then we'll move over to the SATA drive and we'll slide that in below it. So this is both drives are Western Digital drives. The IDE drive is a Western Digital, I think it is the WD400BB. Okay, so that specific drive, if interested, came out around about 2003. Back in 2006 you would have picked this thing up for like $30-40. is a 40 gig drive. Only 2 megabytes of cache though. So yeah, it is what it is. And then the SATA drive is SATA 1. SATA 2 was a thing, but was still becoming a thing, so to speak. Anyway, we won't need to worry about setting slave and master here because we're only running one IDE drive, unless I daisy chain, right? Which we won't be doing. Yeah. Has this even got a jumper on it? No. We're not going to need a jumper. We'd only need that if we're daisy chaining this thing. Alrighty. So let's see if we can make this relatively neat, huh? Okay. Oh, they didn't make these cables easy to work with. Okay, so what I'm actually thinking is maybe go. I'm gonna just feed this through here like that. I'm gonna crimp the cable, if you want to call it that. So, yeah, like that. Yeah, and then we're gonna have to do that. I need to still get to those SATA ports there. And what we're going to do is, just so we have a spare Molex connector, I'm going to do this. We're going to daisy chain off this fan quickly. But I want to actually pull. We are going to attempt cable management while we're at this. As I say, not that these cases promoted that. But we are going to attempt what we can, right? Yeah. I will worry about connectors lastly. As I say, as long as we've got a power connector, that's all we need. Connect it to the board. Power button works. Stupid thing. Yeah, we good. We good. Yeah. Okay, we're now going in with the SATA drive, right? This is a WD400JD. So this is SATA 1. The advantage here was though it has 8 megabytes of cache. But now interestingly enough, you could see that SATA was still becoming a thing, because if you look at the connectors, right, you see how it's got a Molex connector along with a SATA power connector, right? So the fact is that they had that just shows you how the drives had to sort of cater for both. That's why you see a lot of older SATA drives or SATA drives outside, slightly newer than this. The Molex connector's gone, but the actual cutout and the design of the drive itself still has that spacing for this, so to speak. And the fact is this even has capability to use jumpers is quite interesting. Okay, so we can go directly underneath here. Slide this sucker in. Okay, we good. Alright. Okay, locked in there. Perfect. I'm going to slide this slightly forward. I see we've got a little bit of play here. There. Perfect. Okay, so let's lock in the second screw. Once we've locked in the second screw, we'll then tighten them all up, right? Drives it in. Okay. Let's grab a SATA cable. Get that all out the way there. Overly long. I'll have a shorter one. Oops. That's same length. Okay. We have got a slightly shorter one. Let's go. Pretty much the same length actually. Okay, just to make life easier and things cleaner, yeah, let's actually get the power connector connected first. Yeah, that'll do perfectly. Get my head out the shot. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Okay, we are in to win it, right? Okay, we're now going to just plot this Molex in here. Hopefully this doesn't give us problems. Pins all hate these connectors. Okay, so that's in. I'm gonna just feed this through the bottom here a little bit. Yeah, let's actually feed that whole thing through like that, and we'll go over like that for now. So we'll worry about cable management later. Get that going. Boom. Alrighty, good to go. Okay. GPU. Excuse me. Alrighty, for the GPU, we have the almighty 7200 GS. And that is right, you're seeing a Foxconn. You're seeing the Foxconn's name on there. As I say, yeah, you remember Foxconn being a GPU manufacturer as far as third parties were concerned. You know what we need to do? Just got these lock shield here. Take this off quickly. Getting there, we're getting there. Okay, great. Alrighty, let's move on to now plotting this sucker in here. There we go. That actually clips in rather nicely. Now for this shield, actually a good question. Do we need to still put in a screw? How does this work? Do you go straight on top here? I guess we'll find out, right? Oh, come on. Flimsy. Right. And let's just see. Why does it feel like we should still have screw on there? I'll see how this works. That's right. That goes right down. Oh no, okay. So we are going to put a screw in here. Looks like they have spacing for it, which is good. Make sure. Okay. Alrighty, let's get the shield over here. Oh, we're locked in. Alright. I think we're literally at the point that we can turn this sucker on. I have got Windows XP pre-installed. I wasn't going to make you guys sit through that. That is ridiculous. I think we can clip this front cover back on. But let's just, yeah, okay. Before we do that, let's just check that the fan works and everything. So, what I want to do is, okay. Alright. I wanted to test something. I'm going to test this DVR to HDMI cable here. If I can actually capture thing, that you guys can see everything. Give me a second, yeah, I might get out of frame quickly while I'm on. Hopefully this works. I'm talking the capturing aspect of it. Okay, right, let's connect this power supply, which I know works. Okay, let's do this. All right. Oh, we're also going to need a keyboard and mouse. Definitely. Okay. Have some cabling here on my side. There we go. Don't flick that on just yet. Well, let's hold fingers, thumbs, everything else. Okay. Booting. Turning on. Hey, we're up. Get into BIOS. Right. What you probably want to see is this. Let's see if it's coming through on my end. Could be. Hey, there we go. Look at that. We are not even an hour into the stream and we are already into Windows. Come on. That, guys, is impressive. No, it's not impressive right now, those keyboard and mouse. Come on. Yeah, let me just wow, these IDEs are noisy. And that's just how they were. Just how they were. Might have a problem with the keyboard and mouse here. Because maybe this wireless keyboard and mouse is maybe a little bit too modern for XP. Not saying that wireless devices didn't work with them, but it looks like we definitely not getting any form of okay, let me just try something else here. Nope. Okay, so I mean we're up, we're running, right? That's the main thing. But definitely not liking this. Oh wait, there we go. Wow, that took a while. Okay, so it's taking a while to get those wireless for the wireless keyboard and mouse going there. But we're good. Alrighty, so everything's installed. Super budget setup for 2006. So we have. Yeah, so for those interested, I want to pull up the CPU information here. Go. So we do have, it's the Intel Celeron D323. It's actually the 352. Sorry, that's my mess up anyway. I don't know, I put 325 there, but nonetheless, that's what we're running with in here. One core, one thread. Okay, with the base clock of 3.2 gigahertz. And it had a. Oh, it only had 512K cache of L2 cache. No L3 cache in those days. Not for this anyway. It is on a 775 socket. From a GPU perspective, super budget, right? So it's the NVIDIA 7200 GS. This is the 128 meg version, okay? So as you can see, the specs there, nothing over the top. And this thing had like a TDP of like 30 watts, but in real life scenario, actually running it was more around like the 20-25 watt mark. So yeah, rather basic, even for back then. And no unified shaders, right? Because that only came out with the NVIDIA 8 series. So your 8800, 8800 GT, 8800 GTX, that's sort of where unified shaders sort of came into play. Want to restart? Yeah, if it's asking us to, we might as well, right? So let's get that going. But while that's happening, cool. So while that's doing its thing, I'll watch the reboot here. I just want to see this front fan. Is it okay? Yeah, it's pulling in on this external. Yeah. So we've got two 80mm fans. This is what it is. And back over to the build itself while it's doing its thing. Cool. Alrighty, so I'm going to just clip the front of this case back on. Yeah, I'll sort that out properly later. Alrighty, let's just see what we've got here. So everything is running. We are looking good. So 240 gig drives. So for those that have joined, I'm dual streaming at the moment, so I'm not sort of monitoring both sides. But for those who are watching, as I say, we've got 240 gig drives. Okay, both from Western Digital. I'll point them out now. Okay. So we've got it's an RDE 40 gig Western Digital, it's a WD400 BB, and then we have the WD400 JD. Okay, so RDE 2 meg cache, 7200 RPM. Sounds like a stuffing, I don't know what, like a little vacuum. As I say, the RDE drives from back then, they didn't put much dampening on them and stuff like that, so they're noisy as heck. And then we do have a SATA drive though, but SATA 1, so it is error correct. It is a SATA 1 drive, also at 7200 RPM, but the big difference is this has 8 megs of cache, 8 megabytes of cache, versus the 2 megs that this 4 RDE drive only has. So I did actually check the health on these drives, and they're perfectly fine. The SATA drive's a bonus because this is old new stock that I managed to find. I actually bought like a whole bunch of them for these type of builds. But even for back then, 240 gig drives were sort of, it was acceptable. Well, it is what it is. Even for 2006, these drives, the RDE would have probably cost you around about $30, where the SATA drive more around that $40-50 mark. But again, we are so from a spec perspective, so to speak. Let's start pulling up the hardware specs here. We can actually pull up CPU Z here and GPU Z and a few things here. So they're the details there that we're running with. As you can see, we're just over that 3.2 gigahertz mark there. Not many instruction sets CPU wise. Now when you open CPU Z and you see how many instruction sets, it's like they've had to extend that rich text box a bit more to fit them all in. But as you can see, it is one core, one thread. But at 3.2 gigahertz for back then, that was quite high. Okay, but quite a highly clocked Celeron for back then. So there's our bus speed at 133, and our front side bus is actually rated at 533. Yeah, well, 535 doesn't matter. So these are highly overclockable. Okay, if you want to pump the bus speed up on the motherboard in the BIOS, not a problem. What I would do though is if I did overclock it, maybe we'll see. I'll actually drop the frequency on the RAM. So as we clock it up, it brings the frequency back to what it is. So the one stick is clocked at 667 megahertz, DDR2 obviously, and then the other is clocked to 533, so it is clocking down to 533 megahertz. The motherboard itself only supports up to 667 megahertz for DDR2, but back then, as I previously mentioned, it was more back in those days is how much RAM you had versus matching brands and timings and so on. So the benefit here is, though, we do have dual channel up to the first 512 megs of RAM. So let's actually take a look there. So there's our motherboard. That's the motherboard we're running with. So this motherboard back then would have cost you about $50-60. Specifically this motherboard, though, for being I wouldn't call it entry level, but it was definitely a budget board. But for what it has, it really brought, should I say, some benefits or more. Basically, you got more from this board from any other board for around the same price, right? We've got 7.1 audio, so that's with 6 physical audio jacks. Yes, we only have 2 RAM slots, but again, it is a budget board. But gigabit Ethernet. Most entry-level boards then only had 100 megabit, right? So to have gigabit, that's a bonus. And this motherboard does support Core 2 Duos, Pentium Ds, obviously Celeron Ds, because that's what we have installed. So yeah, cool. Let's take a look at the memory. There it is there. Why does that DRAM frequency say we're only running? Because we've got to double that. Is this thing only running at 400? No, surely not. Okay, we'll check now. No, it is, I think. Not based on what we're seeing there. Okay, I need to check that out on the motherboard. Because I'd like to run at 533. Okay. Let's see if we can get into the BIOS, because this should be running at 533. Obviously that DRAM frequency we need to double, so but that should be 266, which we're not. So I want to go into the motherboard, onto the BIOS. Hopefully we can get in there quickly. Waiting for the reboot, it's taking its time, yeah? Oh no, come on. I might have to get an older keyboard here. Yeah, that's fine. While we're doing that, while I figure out how to get into that BIOS, I might have to yeah, okay, well let's just see. Might pull out a shot for a second here too. Yeah, let's see if we can get into this BIOS. Unless it's a different key, I'm hitting the wrong key, but I can't imagine so. Okay, I'm going to need to get another motherboard. Okay, not another motherboard, I'm saying another keyboard. Let's do that. So I just need to grab a keyboard so we can get into the BIOS. Okay, we just switch back over to the actual feed of the build. Alright, so while that's going on, let me go do that quickly. Cool, so we have got some mixed RAM in here. Is what it is. That's how we did it back then. It was more around how much RAM you had versus matching brands and so on, especially for budget builds. So now we should be able to get into the BIOS though with this old keyboard. Okay. I am in the PS2, yep. In the PS2 slot, we good. Right. See if I can get in. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the PC feed now. Second here. Alrighty, so let's see what we're dealing with, alright? There's the frequency there, it has autoed to... You see, what I'm seeing is 400. Yeah, I'm going to manually set it because something's setting it back. Okay, I'm not going to overclock this thing yet, although you could overclock the shit out of these old Celeron Ds. You really could. Anyway, we'll leave the overclocking to later, but I am going to manually set the memory multiplier. And then let's see what CPU Z says, right? Just see status here, I'm just curious. Smart fan is enabled, huh? Yeah, we're going to leave it enabled. I don't want to kill the mic with, I don't know what speed this old Cooler Master fan can spin up to, so let me not break my ears with that. This IDE drive is so damn loud. Save and exit setup. Hell yeah, let's do it. Right, so while that's going on, a blank screen. Oh, there we go. Alrighty, so let's get into XP. Once we're in XP, I'll obviously pick that in. We can actually disconnect this. I can go back to the wireless keyboard. So this was one hell of a budget build, even for back then. Celeron D, Nvidia 7200 GS 128 meg for 2006. I mean, it got shit done, right? But how well? Yeah, we'll leave it at that. Okay. I mean, we'll run some benchmarks and stuff so you can see it. But don't get me wrong, you would have been able to play Oblivion, right? That was the main thing, because that was like the big. Should I say, that was the GTA 6 of 2006, right? Just want to get that keyboard out the way. Alright, we're in XP, but before we go, I see a couple of people have joined. I just want to run you guys through the specs if you don't mind. Hit it up in the chat if I'm taking too long. Anyway, so we've got the Celeron D, okay? It is the 352 model. Base clock 3.2 gigahertz. We're running 768 megs of RAM. Back then it was more about how much RAM you had more than matching brands and clocks and times and frequencies, okay, especially for budget builds. So we've got a Samsung stick 512 meg and a Apacer 256 meg stick. Well, it's labeled Apacer, but anyway. And the one is clocked at 533 and the other clocks up to 667, but is obviously clocking down to 533, alright? And then we have an IDE, Western Digital, WD 400 BB, 2 megs cache, super small, 7200 RPM though. And then we have a SATA 1 drive, okay, also a 40 gig, WD 400 JD, and that has 8 megs of cache, but again SATA, and SATA 1. Alrighty, so let us get back to XP. Cool, alrighty. Bearings up and running. I just want to see, hopefully we're seeing that 266 on the memory now. It's still showing, maybe I'm going mad, maybe it clocks, no, but RAM doesn't work like that. It should just, okay, I'll figure it out. See, I'm expecting to see this. Okay, cast latency. I can't remember what these things mean. It's been a while since I've had to remember what's what, so I don't know what those timings are decent. I'm assuming not. I'm assuming what it might be doing is, okay, so if we look at the JDEC options here, so you've got 1, 2, and 3, right? So if we look at for the cast latency of 3, okay, I'm just trying to check something here. What is it matching? 339, I just want to see. 339, and that's at 200. I think that might be the problem. It's just odd that the motherboard picks up differently. Yeah, it is what it is. Okay. So, let me jump into the drives quick. Windows. Yeah, I labeled this like a real moron. So, in theory, by default, you usually see your C drive, right? Would be your OS drive. Anyway, yeah, I'll leave it as that. Drivers, Crystal Mark. Hey, we have got GPU-Z here. I'm going to take a slightly newer version. Yeah, so there's the not the settings. There's the specs, right, for the 7200 GS. So yeah, nothing fancy, right? Bro, check the bandwidth. Okay. Obviously, I mean, we're working on a memory interface, right? A bus width of only it's a 64-bit memory interface. So obviously, bandwidth is going to be short. And your DDR2. Hey, we're getting such short GPU temp. That's quite hard, don't you think? Okay, it is passively cooled. Let's be honest. Anyway, I'm sure these things can handle quite a bit of temp, right? CPU temperature. Oh, min max. I want to double check that. That looks off to me, unless I haven't got this mounted properly. Let's check that out quickly. Am I going blind? I'm looking for the CPU temperature. I am only seeing clocks. Huh, okay. What other software may we have here? There's no way GPU-Z is correct. No, that looks like an off reading to me. Feel the heatsink's cold. Okay, well, maybe I need to chuck speed fan on here and see what that comes up with. Although I don't know if I've got that available on here. I might have to grab it. Oh. Okay, well, let's start. We're going to benchmark it anyway, right? Maybe while that's installing, I should actually maybe try get speed fan. Oh no, well, installed rather quickly. Okay. We have got 2 versions of GPU-Z here. Let's try some. Let's switch. Let us see. Maybe it is bullshitting us. There's no way this thing's running at 100. Like, not a stuff. There's plenty thermal paste on there. This one doesn't even have an option for CPU temperature. Yeah, I'm assuming that was a feature that didn't work too well on those old. These old versions of GPU-Z I've got installed on here are old AF, right? So, anyway. So that's great. We may have some DirectX possible things missing here, which is fine. What else did I put on here? Yeah, let me grab Cinebench and everything quickly. Yeah, let's do that. I'm just checking what else is here. Doesn't even bring up a probe reading for the RDE drive, which is interesting. Okay, so while that's going on, I am going to grab, and at least we should be able to run the let's get so Crystal Mark. We might as well benchmark and check these drives out, check that they're healthy. From when I last checked, they are. But, yeah. Okay, so while that's running, I'm going to grab some software. So I'm going to grab SpeedFan. I'm then going to grab Cinebench and a few others. Cool. While that's running, as I say, I'm just going to mute my mic while I go grab this. Not that I can do much anyway while this is benchmarking. Don't worry, the drive we're testing at the moment is the IDE I'm copying onto the SATA, so it won't affect the current benchmark running. Okay. Looks about right for an IDE here. Of that era. Yeah. Well, get this going. So we're going to start with Cinebench 11.5. See how that goes. I still need to grab SpeedFan's copying at the moment. On another drive. Another flash drive. Off my old Vista machine. So I'm waiting for that. Hopefully we don't run into any issues here. I can't imagine we will. Hey, alright. Before we actually run this, I'd like to get SpeedFan installed. I honestly want to see those temps. But let's run the OpenGL test in the interim. I literally just want to see if it will at least run the benchmark, even though if it's failing that other thing. Holy shit. Surely this GPU wasn't that bad. I just want to see what references we have here. Yeah, 4870. These are all high-end things. Yeah. Oh well. That is what it is. Want to get speed fan on the sucker. So we can double check those Thanks. Hey, what's up in the chat? It's not, well, just a retro rig. I'm going to be doing an actual series on a whole bunch of budget builds. So this is actually the first budget build for the series I'm doing. So I'm going from 2006 to 2010. So we're going to have 5 builds. But it's more like a docu-series. You're, yeah. No, definitely not a sleeper build. This is it's a different type of sleeper build. This thing will fall asleep. It's super slow, bro. It's like a budget build for 2006. Yeah, that's right. Cool. So I'm going to pull, sorry, I'm just grabbing software here. Pull this in. We may run into some DirectX issues. That's crazy, bro. Oh, it was budget for 2006 even. We're talking, it's a, so just to run through the specs quickly for you guys. And I will just, let me switch over here. Okay, so from a spec perspective, all right. So we're running a Celeron D. Okay, it is a Celeron D352. So single core, single thread CPU. Came out in 2006. It's clocked at 3.2 gigahertz. All right, and that's no overclock. That's just the base clock. L2 cache only 512K. There was no L3 cache in those days for these type of CPUs. Intel 775 socket. NVIDIA 7200GS. Okay, 128 meg. I mean, yeah, guys, even for back then, this thing was dog slow, right? So it's not the Celeron D325. That's my stuff up. But they're the specs there, okay, for the CPU. Yeah, it was definitely, yeah, it was, yeah, it's, this CPU specifically has been around for a long time. How did I get all those specs? So this is obviously what I've pulled offline, but at the same time, I mean, we'll pull up CPU-Z and it matches. Which I'll pull CPU-Z up and GPU-Z up and you guys can see. And then there's for the NVIDIA 7200GS. So this was a super budget card back then in 2006. It was more like seen as a display adapter, more than anything else. But it's got some features. In theory, it should actually run, in all honesty, it should run Oblivion, based on what I've seen. I mean, obviously we're talking 800 by 600 and stuff like that. Cool. So yeah, so let's pull that across. Can it run RuneScape? Okay, yeah, so sorry, talking about the motherboard. So the motherboard itself wasn't super budget, but it wasn't high-end either. It would have cost you, from what I could find, it was about $50-$60. What I did find though was that on the listing on Newegg, someone actually left a comment saying they paid $56 for the motherboard. So only 2 RAM slots. It did support Core 2 Duos, etc. But yeah, the motherboard, as I say, it's definitely not high end, but I wouldn't say it was like an ECS entry level thing. I have no idea if it'll run RuneScape. But yeah, everything else is pretty budget. As I say, 240 gig drives, 1 RDE, 1 SATA. This RDE drive is buzzing in my left ear. You won't really hear it over the mic, but to me it's very hearable, so to speak. I just want to double check these temps. Yeah. %. So Windows XP was it could handle in theory a newer OS, but for 2006, XP was the OS most people were using. Yeah, you should be able to get an RDE to SATA. Well, I mean, you'd have to check, but yeah, 100%. Like, dude, if I as I say, no one does 100% really agree with, give a shit about this type of stuff, but yeah. Yeah, I guess at this point, while we're waiting for stuff to load. This is fucking stupid. I can't. How does it not? All the software I've tried cannot get a CPU temp. HW monitor, all of it. The only thing I can see is in the BIOS, the temps. Chipsets installed, everything. I don't know. Yeah, I actually did the thermal paste on all of them. It is a 6.5 milligram whatever conductivities. It's not bad, thermal paste. I mean, the GPU itself doesn't have any fans or anything, so yeah. So I've already done the build. I did the build right in the beginning. 100%. Yeah, the build I've already done. As I say, I started from scratch. If you go right to the beginning of the stream, you would have seen me putting everything together. The rest of the temps look fine to me. Yeah. I think we're good. Yeah, the thermal paste alright. As I say, it's just it's deep cool. I think it's Z10. It's not the greatest stuff, but it's better than the low end shit. Yeah, I did touch the heatsink earlier, and as I say, it's not hot. Not hot at all. Yeah. Yeah. That includes for the 7200 GS as well. I think we're going to run into some DX issues here, DirectX issues, but let's just see. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So okay, well, let's get back to Cinebench. Yeah, it's crazy, eh? It's exactly what it looks like. Fucking dial up all over again. It's painful to watch. I will say though, yeah, for basic stuff, I mean, be interesting what it would run from a Linux perspective. The 7200 GS actually has me worried just on how slow it is. Based on the docu-series I'm going to do on these budget builds from 2006 to 2010, this is the only GPU that worries me because of how slow it is. So this is PCI Express. AGP was still around back then, definitely. Yeah. The original plan was actually to start at 2005 and run with the AGP card, specifically a FX 5700 and a FX 5500. But should I say I ran into some hardware issues with hardware that old. I've got the hardware, it just wasn't, yeah, the main issue was actually the motherboard. So yeah, PCI Express 1.0. Although I did see GPU-Z specifying that it is running at PCI Express 1.1, which it's PCI Express 1.0, but it's just tweaked and refined, so to speak. While this is running, I just want to check some temps. Oh, that's crazy, yeah. Yeah, AGP was interesting. Yeah, the last AGP card that I actually have, I've got a couple, but the one, so NVIDIA actually released 7 series, the NVIDIA 7 series cards, they actually still released AGP. And I've got the NVIDIA 7950 GT, which was like the last hurrah as far as AGP was concerned. Like that was the highest end AGP card you can get. I've actually got, I mean, I bought that back in the day for myself. I've still got it. I think it needs caps replaced on it though. When I did test it not that long ago, it was artifacting a bit, and it wasn't related to temperatures. I have a feeling there's some bad caps on there. But yeah, I need to actually still see if my Voodoo 2 still works. But this setup has got me worried now, looking how slow it is. I was expecting, yeah, it's got to unsolder them, and yeah, at least it's not like a reflow or anything like that. At least it'll just be matching those caps, as long as it's not a freaking ceramic capacitor. Because those things are so small, yeah, I'd have to pull out my heat gun and everything. If it's just standard caps, then that's nice and easy. But if it's ceramic capacitors, ugh, that's another, yeah. And you got to pull out a bloody magnifying glass and all that crap. Well, for me anyway. But yeah, they definitely do fail. I've replaced a couple on some other, I say mainly on old motherboards. But yeah, I've been lazy with maintaining some of my older hardware, which is stupid. I should be. But because I've got so much of it, it's just, yeah. Yo. Damn, man, this, when did Cinebench 11.5 come out? I know it was after 2006, I'm pretty sure. I'm probably running the wrong benchmarks against the CPU, but it gives us a good indication. I mean, it's definitely working, right? So... main thing is build is up, everything's running. I'm definitely going to have to get DirectX sorted out on here and a couple of other drivers. I mean, the NVIDIA drivers are installed, but I think we're missing mainly framework and C++ redistributables here. that are affecting the Uni engine benchmarks that we can't run them. As I said, I'm not going to make you guys sit through that while I try to figure it out. Yeah, you see 11.5. Yeah, exactly. It is a test to just check if there's issues. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just basically letting it. I'm not going to let it run for much longer. I'm actually just reading here. Yeah, so Cinebench actually came. Cinebench 11.5 specifically came out in 2010. So hence why we're seeing how slow it is. There's not much more I can really benchmark here based on the software I have. Again, this whole stream was just to get the build up, get XP up and running, and check that everything is somewhat stable, which it definitely is. I'm actually going to kill this. Okay. I mean, I need to still pop open CPU-Z and all of that. Look, I didn't realize that was as low of the resolution we were running at. There's no way it will do. Well, not on the screen. I think my conversion here. Oh, this monitor only does that. There we go. That's a bit better, not so cluttered, huh? Wonder what the idling temp for the 7200 GS actually was. It just seems rather, again, it is passively cooled, so I mean, what can you expect? Yeah, I must actually double check these idle temps. They don't seem right. Unless we're just getting a weird reading, which may be possible, but I don't know. That seems a bit hard to me. The card doesn't feel hot though. Not that hot. Not 70 degrees hot. Definitely not. I mean, I chucked new thermal paste on this and everything, so... yeah. Build specs are super low, even for 2006. It's a Celeron D352 running at 3.2 gigahertz with a NVIDIA 7200 GS, 128 meg. We're running 768 megs of DDR2. So we've got dual channel up to the first 512 meg, but after that obviously it'll drop to single channel. Let me open CPU-Z and stuff you guys can see. Yeah, so it's a budget build even for 2006, to be honest. But that's what I was aiming for. So I'm actually going to I'm doing, as I mentioned earlier, a docu-series from 2006 to 2010 on pretty much budget builds, more relatable builds from back then. I could talk about the history. You're obviously going to benchmark the shit out of this thing. Multiple games, some synthetic benchmarks, and all of that. But I mean, that will be when the video comes out. We're obviously not doing that now. This was just the build to check stability and everything else. It's like 0 GPU load, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. Hey, it's a good question. It's interesting. Like, it's something probably worth trying, is to see like what could you get to run on this old hardware with. I'm talking now, trying to chuck in newer things into this thing. Yeah. This seems to me like this idle temp is too high, but again, I don't know if I'm getting a bad reading. Touching the heatsink now and it feels fine. Doesn't feel 70 degrees. Definitely not. Anyway, I'll double check that maybe I haven't got the passive cooler on properly or something. But I mean, it seems, yeah. Yeah, for this card, I mean, it should, based on what I saw on the internet, this thing should be idling at about 45. Yeah, it would be cool to try something like that. As you say, I think drivers may be an issue, but yeah. It's where this, but I'm getting weird readings. I mean, the fact is we can't get a CPU temp reading with no matter what we try. I did install chipset drivers and everything, so in theory we should be fine. Maybe I need to recheck all of that. I mean, I definitely got the correct drivers for the motherboard model, but maybe there's some BIOS updates or something, yeah. Yeah, true. As I say, I know what 70 degrees should feel like, and this heatsink definitely doesn't feel like 70 degrees. Hopefully it doesn't affect, yeah. It shouldn't affect the clocking of the car. I mean, these things, yeah. Everything seems stable enough to me, in my honest opinion. I mean, I think we're good. Yeah, I think we're good. So I'm just checking. I'll actually get my temperature reader thingy from COVID days and see what we're getting, but I don't have it on me right now. And again, as I say, this is something I'll check. Yeah, it's definitely something I want to check. As I say, this thing isn't hot. No, it's passively cooled, but I mean, I will double check the clips, maybe, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't smell hot, doesn't feel hot. I will double check the clips though. No, clips are fine, even now checking the clips, they're fine. Definitely getting contact, it's not like it's getting... Anyway, yeah. Yeah, exactly. I've got one of those gun ones thingies, whatever you want to call it, that I need to, I could probably, I mean, it's not going to give you, yeah, thermocam would be nice. Yeah, I don't know what those cost, to be honest. But even that, like, temp gun, just to give me, even if it's not accurate, it'll give me a rough estimate. But I see now, like, yeah, I think you're right. There's something up with this the temp reading. Okay, I'm going to try to see if I can get it to do that again. So watch here. So if we look at that GPU temp there at 66, right? So what I noticed was it jumped to 70 and then quickly jumped back down to 66. But like, again, I don't know how often this thing's refreshing though. Looks like once a second, alright? So, I want to see if it does that again. Okay, 6667. But I literally saw, you see that? Now it's going to do, I don't know if you saw that. So you see how it hit 69 and then quickly shot down to 66. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's possible. But yeah. That's what I want to do, but unfortunately every time I'm trying to stress test the GPU, it's well, we can do it with Cinebench, right? The software that I tried to stress test it with was having issues. I need to sort out the DX stuff. Yeah. But what I want to do is, okay, well, let's do it. I mean, let's pull open Cinebench. It did run. It was like dog slow, but it will put load on the GPU. Yeah, good idea. Right, let's do that. So back into 11.5 we go. Okay. Yeah, let's watch that GPU load as well, because I'm curious to see if that's even going to register a load. Yeah, 100%. As I say, even now, like, it feels cool. Oh no, this is probably a driver issue. What I don't see is a load either. Not giving us any load readings on the core. Definitely showing us, I mean, VRAM usage is definitely increasing. I mean, this thing is, yeah, frame a second, right? Okay, so temp's gone up to 72, let's just see. Okay, we also got to keep in mind the Cinebench 11.5 is 4 or 5 years newer than the CPU itself, but I mean, it's definitely going to put a load on it, right? I want to see, does it feel like it's gotten hotter? Yeah, but it's still touchable. I just want to see what the temp should be. Yes, 100%. So I can see it's looks like it's capping out at about 72, 73. Yeah, it's at 74. So like a normal load, what I'm reading here is between 65 and 75 degrees. So if we're sitting between 75, even between 75 and 80 with a passive cooler, I think that's acceptable. Okay, yeah, I've got HW info. So it looks like it's capping out at 75 degrees, right? Which is acceptable. Like, that's what the internet is saying for under normal load. So 100%. So I think idling at like 66, 69 with a passive cooler is just what this thing does. Under load, the temps look like they're what they should be. Yeah, I just think the load is just with this passive cooler. It'd be interesting. Maybe I get a fan on this thing. Yeah, I've got something for it actually. It's old school. Let me get it. I'm not going to install it now, but let me grab it. So I think, yeah, so there's one thing. So I've got, what I was thinking is, you need to get those PCI. So I've got one, got two fans on it, and then it just slots into a PCI slot and it blows air on it. Otherwise I was thinking of even using this, but again, just want to see. Yeah, it's not going to work for what I need. I need to get that actual double fan blower onto there, and guaranteed the temps will come down. But based on what I'm seeing on the internet, its normal load temp is between 75 and 85. So we're sitting at 75 under full load from what I'm gathering. So I think we're alright. It just idles high for some reason, and I'm assuming it's because of that shitty passive heatsink on it. And again, we might have the wrong readings as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to probably tomorrow or whatever double check all the drivers, double check chipsets, double check that I've got the right drivers for this GPU. From what I pulled online, I mean, it said it was the last NVIDIA drivers. Maybe I need to try an older version as well. Yeah, but we'll see. Yeah, and update the BIOS. I want to see what revisions there are for this BIOS. I doubt the person I bought this motherboard from did update it. But 100%. Update the BIOS, check if there's newer chipset drivers. Because we can't even get a CPU temp reading, which is BS. We should be able to get that. Voltage for the base clock. Yeah, well, I must get MSI Afterburner installed on here as well. But again, I think for what we've done, this was just more stability. But yeah, I'm hoping the updated BIOS will fix those issues and we can get teeth. Because I mean, I'm getting a CPU temp right in the BIOS. That's not a problem. I can see it there. It's just, yeah, so definitely probably a BIOS issue there. But I think we're good. Yeah, but I think that outside of that, the build's gone alright. I mean, everything's working. I mean, it's stable. We haven't had any blue screens. I haven't bothered with overclocking yet. But yeah, I think we're good. Anyways, I think I'm going to call it, guys. I think we're good. Yeah, thanks for everyone who stayed on the chat. But yeah. Cool, thanks, man. Yeah, thanks, guys. And yeah, thanks for everyone who stayed. Yeah. Stick around, the video will be probably coming out next week. And it's more of a docu-series as well. So yeah, anyway. Damn hotel Wi-Fi cut off. Sorry, man. Yeah. No worries. So as I was saying, the series will come out. The video will probably come out next week for the first build, and then we'll do the 2007 build, and then the docu-series will come out. So it's sort of live stream episode. But again, I'm going to properly benchmark this. As I say, we're going to put in that cooler definitely and get Airing running. As I say, as far as stability and Airing, I think Airing's fine. Just got to sort out these temp readings. So anyways, thanks guys. Have a good one. I will catch you on the next one. No, 100%. No, don't worry about backseat driving, bro. As I say, and you're not at all. The more, as I say, gives me ideas. Someone comes around, oh, I had a board like that, etc., etc. So it's all helpful, bro. So no worries, dog. Cool. Anyway, guys, have a good one, and I'll catch you on the next live stream. And hopefully, as I say, next week this video will come out. Hopefully, if I don't run into any issues. So yeah, have a good one.